Liga todavía.
The past 20 years have been chaotic for the Spanish giants Valencia.
A football club so storied that its badge is ingrained and tattooed amongst football fans worldwide for generations. 8 Copa del Rey, 6 La Liga titles, 3 UEFA Cups, 2 European Super Cups, and a Spanish Super Cup. Now imagine that same organization and the legacy starting to crumble. One painful decision at a time. Iconic players that have graced the grass of El Mestalla Stadium, legendary football talents such as David Villa, or David Silva, Pablo Aimar, Mario Kempes, just to name a few. It has been 5 seasons since the last time we saw this historic club playing in European competition. Instead of a large rap sheet of trophies won, it's now a bit of a running arithmetic equation of managerial appointments. 16 managers in 12 years really emphasizes the lack of cohesion and direction the club currently has. Valencia is almost unrecognizable. Languishing towards the bottom of the table in La Liga, Valencia aren't fighting for silverware or even a European placement, but rather to survive. Their once prolific academy, which has produced household names like Raul Albiol or Jordi Alba, Gaitza Mendieta, you start to question the sources of quality. As the ownership seems to continually neglect the transfer market, this is an organization that has seen multiple Champions League finals, but we're seeing a collapse in the chaos. And the answer lies with a bit of a toxic cocktail of financial ruin, fan rebellion, and a controversial billionaire owner, which is nothing new on the channel. But if you have not subscribed to the Football Records, that would be highly appreciated. Who is Peter Lim? Born into a modest family, Peter Lim became one of the wealthiest individuals in Singapore from stockbroking, making moves. He previously was in a bid to buy Liverpool and was invested in Salford Football Club alongside Gary Neville. In fact, Neville also controversially was hired as Valencia's manager despite zero experience in the role, and that brief spell included a 7-0 thrashing from FC Barcelona. Yeah, did I mention it was short-lived? Lim's ownership style: cold, distant, financially opportunistic. While he dabbled in vanity projects like Salford City, a 6-tier club turned League 2 side, Valencia became the playground for his financial maneuvers, and he shifted the internal infrastructure completely. And that was shown with some of the repeated thoughtlessness with his ownership at Valencia, where he didn't provide the club with the correct attention or the resources to truly thrive. And the fans vocalized, even demanded that he sell the club. At one point, over 10,000 fans hit the Valencia streets protesting Lim ownership at the end of last season. They wanted change. The fans had had enough. And the protests, they weren't just in Valencia. They emerged worldwide. Even in Singapore, where a Spanish couple faced detention for holding a Lim Go Home sign outside of his mansion. You can see how this intersects between upper management and ownership. They're not seeing the same picture. In the early 2000s, Valencia was Spain's third force. They dethroned the likes of Real Madrid's Galacticos to win La Liga twice, claimed the UEFA Cup, and became Champions League regulars. The Mestalla Stadium would roar with passion, and legends like Mendieta or Pablo Aimar became household names worldwide. Still watch highlights to this day. But by 2014, the club was drowning in debt. Enter Peter Lim, a Singaporean tycoon who promised salvation. But instead, he became the villain of Valencia's modern decline. Since that acquisition in 2014, Peter Lim has faced intense criticism for prioritizing financial deals over club development. Cultured infusion, where is it? Intertwining football with the lifestyle, where is it? We have question marks. Peter Lim marked the time period of a controversial era. A new era that wasn't trending upward. Lim represented a new breed of football ownership, more interested in the financial transactions than the sporting passion. Fans accused him of abandoning and destroying the club through poor investments. He had a reliance on the agent Jorge Mendes for some of the transfers, and there was a bit of a refusal or a pessimistic side to making proper investments into improving the squad. It was a bad concoction, and you saw this in-house with banners and signs that said, "Lim, go home." It was a common procedure. And even when Valencia had success, they still imploded. For example, Valencia won the Copa del Rey in 2019 under Marcelino, but then he was sacked alongside with the director of football, Matteo Alemany, after disagreements over transfer policy. And Lim's response? We don't need Europe, while having a top-tier club in Europe. Even this season, when it's clear that the club is desperate for reinforcements. Lim did not endorse a last-minute operation that would allow for an arrival of key players for the squad. There weren't proper moves being made during the transfer window. Under Lim, Valencia has become a case study for mismanagement or just destructive ownership. The club cycled through 16 managers in a decade, sold homegrown talent like Ferran Torres or Carlos Soler, and replaced them with low-cost signings that didn't have the same impact or potential to reach proper heights. Meanwhile, Lim's Meriden Holdings, they charged Valencia 23 million euros for phantom services. And these allegations are now under criminal investigation. And none of these are the types of associations or charges you want with ownership around what should be a successful football club. And the new Mestalla, it's become a money pit. Announced as far back as 2007, and the project has been a constant problem, draining 130 million euros without a brick laid. The club's debt has soared, forcing a 121 million euro loan and a 65 million euro bridge deal with Goldman Sachs just to stay afloat. Naturally, fans have revolted, players crumbled, and by 2024, Valencia was a shell of its former self. A team relying on academy kids, leaking goals, spiraling towards Segunda Division, something I never thought I'd see. In shareholder meetings, those have been dissolved into chaos. As we have seen with previous videos in clubs like Lyon, a single bad ownership can send a club spiraling out of context with many managerial moves and cultural shifts, and if not done properly, even a century-long footballing institution can be brought to its knees in just around a decade. Once having maybe an adventures-like lineup of European talent, they now have the motley crew of players that have been signed for a discount, with their main contributors in constant talks about making transfers. I say all this because the squad might not be done with the decline, which leads me to the future. In 2025, Valencia secured a lifeline. 121 million euro long-term loans and a 65 million bridge deal to restart the new Mestalla. That project, that stadium, it's now set for completion by 2027. Could this boost revenue if it doesn't bankrupt them first? But with Lim exploring a 430 million euro sale and the team fighting for relegation, hope it's fragile. And I always think back, because you're never guaranteed another promotion. Portsmouth could be a good example. They had a long ride in the Premier League, 15 consecutive seasons, give or take, of top flight footy. Big name managers, real talent on the pitch. The club was fighting for upper placements, FA Cups, UEFA Cups. But since they were relegated, they haven't seen a re-up. They've had those financial concerns, debt, creditors, payments owed to players. It got messy. Again, I'm not wishing this on Valencia, but if changes aren't made, there's real room for concern. New manager, Carlos Coberan, he's got a lot of work to do. He has to rally a squad that's plagued by injuries and inexperiences. It's a stark contrast to his previous club at West Brom, and the fans are continuing to rally. There is some optimism, but at the end of the day, you can't be anything but disappointed. It's another slain giant in the world of modern football. If anything, Valencia's story is a warning. Even legacy clubs in football can be disbanded. Could the new Mestalla rise like a phoenix or become a monument to disaster of recent times? One thing's for certain, the fans won't surrender without a fight. The future, well, it hangs on by a thread, and time, it's running out.